Okay, good morning everybody and welcome to the special meeting of Cabinet being done by Teams on Thursday the 30th of July. Well, first item is apologies for absence.
I have one apology from Councillor Alison Pugh.
Okay, are there any others? Onwards then to disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Are there any? Councillor Rayner?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
I can't unmute my button.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
That's really strange because my microphone is showing as muted. In that case, I'd like to declare a personal, where are we? Interest for item 7, local governor authority appointments, because I am part of the committee that made the decision, but I have a dispensation from the Standards Committee to stay, speak, but not vote.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rayner. I'm just going to call the monitoring officer on in on this one because obviously you're named in the report, which is different on this occasion. So, Tracy,
I was going to raise that matter during the item, but I'm more than happy to raise it now. Just to confirm, I was not a member of the meeting that looked at the appointment for a governor for Ulkfor School and considered my application alongside that vacancy.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rayner. I'll call Ms Meredith in now to give us some further advice on this.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Rayner, we think your dispensation covers you for presenting this report so that you can stay and speak but not vote. But we don't think it does cover you for actually being a nominated governor. So I would suggest that you declare a personal and prejudicial interest, as will be those other members who are also named or have family members also named and being recommended for appointment.
Thank you. Thank you for that advice. Happy, therefore, to declare that I have a prejudicial as well as a personal interest here.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Councillor Lloyd?
Yeah, item 7, Chair, personal prejudicial interest named as reappointment of school governor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hopkins?
Yeah, I'd like to declare a personal prejudicial interest in item 7. My wife is mentioned twice in the report.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other declarations of interest?
Well, technically, Leader, do I have to take advice then? Because Councillor Paxton, Hood Williams, Gareth Sullivan, Linda Tyler Lloyd, Joe Gale, Des Thomas are all colleagues, and so therefore, is that a personal interest?
No, Councillor Francis David, I think the advice previously was quite clear on that, which is that whilst you might know somebody, that is quite fine. But if the person is in your household or you're related to them or you are the person named yourself, then it is a different matter. So I think as in previous meetings where we've had these sort of reports, if you just know the person but they're not a part of your household, then or a close family relative, then you do not need to make a declaration.
Thank you.
Okay, move on then to minutes of the previous meeting, pages 1 to 7. Page, for accuracy first, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm happy to move those as a true record. Somebody want a second?
Second.
All happy to agree?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. We'll move on then to item 4, which is announcements to the Leader of Council. I only have one announcement this morning, and that's to congratulate the Deputy Chief Executive, Adam Hill, and his wife on the birth of their baby, Dewi, last night. So I'm sure we wish Debbie, Christina, and Dewi all the best this morning. I'll move on then to public question time and go to Mr. Evans. I believe we've got 3 questions submitted from the public. So just to be clear, what Mr. Evans will do, he will read out the questions in the order they were received, and then I'll call the relevant cabinet member in to respond.
Forgive me, they are a little long. The first question from David Judd of Wheelwrights. By way of introduction, I am a retired highways civil engineer and lifetime everyday cyclist, engaged for many years in the development of cycle routes in Wales and Ireland, and was given a Lifetime Achievement Award for this work. I have lived on Northway, Bishopston, and cycled this route regularly since 1974. I wish to make the following representations at your meeting regarding the item on active travel grant approval for Mayles Road Corridor proposed hybrid cycle lanes. The proposed scheme with 1.5 metre lanes either side raised 25 millimetres above the carriageway will be extremely dangerous for cyclists in both directions. The reduced width does not allow overtaking without crossing the curb, which will cause the cyclist great difficulty. The removal of mature trees necessary to construct these paths and the likely effect of damaging the roots of many others in the process is an unacceptable spoiling of this much appreciated avenue. There can be no provision for parking for vehicles servicing all the many properties, church and Klein gardens along it, or the bus stops, and this will cause cyclists to move across curbs into the narrowed traffic lanes. It's a recipe for disaster on all fronts. A much better alternative is the route using Fairwood Road, which is an acceptable detour for most city centre cyclists and could, if traffic calmed, provide a much safer route serving the West Cross estate, shops, school and community centres, as well as being more direct to Mumbles. Will Cabinet please consider this scheme for the above reasons and request your officers to agree a replacement solution with wheelwrights, Sustrans and other relevant parties, and in particular examine the potential of a transformational traffic calming of Fairwood Road, which will, in my opinion, provide a far better replacement of the Mayles Road scheme. As said, that was from David Judd.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Calling Councillor Mark Thomas to respond, please. Councillor Thomas.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to dispute that Mr. Judd has got engineering qualifications and an engineering background, but we also hire very qualified engineers for our schemes. You know, I have not designed this scheme because I've not got any engineering background. So I want to, give everybody the assurance that we have looked at these options, including Fairwood, and key here is that this is not a mayor, although it's a scheme to put in cycle lanes up Mayles. The key purpose for this scheme is, in addition to our network, to extend it out beyond the bounds of the city centre. One of the key elements of this scheme is to take this cycle route and provide cycling provision up towards the northwest of the city boundary. So we are looking, as part of our network plan, we all know we've got exciting plans for our network, and part of that is to go out beyond Mayles Road, across the Common, down to Bishopston, Kittle, Pennard and beyond. Now, if you think about that, when people are cycling from that direction, coming across from Bishopston, Pennard, go into the city centre, then a detour down Fairwood Road, there are no crossing facilities immediately at the bottom of Fairwood Road, unlike there are at Mayles, and having to go back towards Mumbles to cross the pedestrian crossing to pick up the promenade. So it's not a more direct route by any means for the core cyclists. I mean, if you look at current usage of the scheme, of Mayles Road and cycling, far more cyclists today cycle up and down Mayles Road than they do Fairwood Road. Now, that's a clear indication to me that it is already an existing preferred route for cyclists. Obviously, it's a lengthy question, and I will do it justice by giving it a full written response to answer all the relevant points raised by Mr. Judd. But in principle, the other key point as well is this FPR7 report is just for us to agree, hopefully, to commit this fund to capital spend. We have not completed the final design element of this cycle yet, and only this, we are constantly in discussions and always have been for many years with groups like Wheel Rights Ancestrans. All of our schemes we speak to them about, and we will do the same with this scheme. In fact, I've recently agreed to set up a meeting with Wheel Rights to discuss this very scheme, because they have a font of knowledge, and it's information and knowledge that we're always willing to take on board and listen to. However, we have obviously key delivery elements of this scheme that's not just for cyclists, it's for all road users. So we have to be mindful of other road users, pedestrians, cyclists as well. And in reference to the scheme being only 1.5 meters wide, that was designed particularly and mainly for us to be able to minimize the impact on the trees on Mayors Road. So whenever we design schemes, as we have done on Cockett Road, one of the major components here is, one, providing a safe cycling and pedestrian route, but also trying desperately to protect our environment and our much-loved trees. So this is designed with that in mind, rest assured, because if we put in a scheme, it could be very damaging to trees. So that's always been at the forefront of our mind in this. But I will follow this up with a very detailed written explanation and response to all the points raised.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thomas. And as you say, with that, that'll be followed up with a further written answer covering off all of the points. But thank you for that explanation. We'll move now to question 2, Mr. Evans.
Okay, the next question is another long one. This is from Dr. Rassi and is also on behalf of several other named people, which I'm not going to go through those names, but they are on the submitted question. But the lead name is Dr. Rassi. We, as a group of Mayors residents, wish to register our concerns about the proposed cycle path scheme for Mayors Road, which is to be considered by the Cabinet on July the 30th. We congratulate the Council on their success in securing funds for this and other cycle route developments, and we fully appreciate the enormous benefits of cycling for all age groups, be it for exercise, leisure or commuting. The current pandemic has highlighted these benefits even more, and Swansea residents are fortunate to have access to such a wide network of safe and scenic cycle routes. Many of the undersigned are keen cyclists, and several of us regularly commute by bicycle. Our concerns, which we will attempt to summarise as bullet points below, mainly relate to the safety of cyclists and pedestrians, protection of the environment and maximising the population benefiting from the new cycle route. We have been fortunate to receive expert opinion from 3 independent, highly qualified highway engineers who are also keen and experienced cyclists. They are unanimous in considering the proposed scheme dangerous to cyclists, an opinion shared by the long-established cyclist organisation Wheel Rights. The detailed analysis and safer alternative schemes suggested by those experts are available, and we will be happy to share them with the appropriate council departments and officials. These analyses confirm our layperson anxiety about the proposed scheme based on common sense and our daily experience as pedestrians, cyclists and motorists travelling up and down Mayors Road over many years. The important relevant facts about Mayors Road to bear in mind are: 1. Its high gradient, very high in places, over a mile-long section between the common and the seafront. 2. Its heavy traffic as the main access road to South Gower. 3. The mature trees lining the road, which are a distinctive feature of this beautiful Swansea landmark, but which also restrict visibility, particularly around bends. Referring to the official Department of Transport document, Cycle Infrastructure Design, cycleinfrastructuredesign-gov.uk, it is clear that the proposed scheme does not comply with the official guidance. For example, in paragraphs 7.1.5, cycle lanes are not always appropriate in complex street environments, and 7.16, where there is a significant gradient, a cycle lane in the downhill direction can make conditions worse for cyclists. Over a short section of Mayles Road between Whitegates and Fairwood Road, there are 4 side roads and over 24 driveways joining the North Carriageway. We submit that this definitely constitutes a complex street environment. For the sake of brevity, we leave the detailed technical arguments, e.g. the danger to cyclists by the upstand, particularly in wet conditions, etc., to the experts who will make separate submissions. Here, we respectfully request that the Council consider the following common sense observations. Danger to cyclists, especially when descending the extremely steep gradient on Mayles Road. Cycle route unlikely to be used by ordinary cyclists, especially children and older people. The narrow width of the road and heavy traffic make it unsuitable for shared use by cars, buses, cyclists, pedestrians. No provision for vehicle parking, stopping anywhere along the road. Up to 10 mature trees being removed and many more likely to sustain root damage. Contrary to the claim in the report being considered by the Council, the scheme is of little benefit to West Cross residents, whereas a cycle route along Fairwood Road would benefit greater numbers of residents and would provide convenient cycling links to both Swansea and Mumbles. In the words of a local resident, I have been a cyclist for about 50 years and now enjoy the amazing cycle paths in Swansea, having returned to the town of my birth 10 years ago. Please consider taking a new cycle track down Fairwood Road from top to bottom. It will connect the community, schools, churches, shops and playgrounds. We need tracks for communities, not the head down Lycra lot. Also, the Mayles Road has too much traffic, is high speed and full of beautiful trees. Do not cut them down, please. Swansea is blessed with fabulous tracks. Let's keep it going and make them safer in COVID obesity times, please. Anne Jones, Norton Avenue. Value for money issues. The increased cost of developing a new cycling route along Mayles Road compared to developing and enhancing the existing cycling provision on the adjacent Fairwood Road. Modifying Fairwood Road would potentially allow more funding to be available for enhanced cycling routes in other parts of the authority and better use of public funds. These comments are made in good faith in the interests of the safety and welfare of the entire community and with goodwill on our part, in the hope that the Council will take appropriate account of these views in the course of the Council's decision-making process. As stated, that's from Councillor D. Rassi and a number of other residents which are named. There is one further question from Councillor Rassi, which is very short, so I'll put it in now as well, because it does link. Has the Council consulted with South Wales Police to have their risk assessments for cyclist, pedestrian and motorist safety of the Mayles Road linked compared to Fairwood Road? That's from Dr. Rassi again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Councillor Thomas.
Yes, thank you, Chair. A lot of the questions raised, obviously I'm not going to, at this meeting, try and answer all of that detailed questions here, but just to summarise, a lot of the questions are similar and points raised are similar to ones in the previous question and in some of my response. A couple of key points I'd pick up on here is reference was made to this, that Mayles Road is too steep and is not a suitable cycle route. Well, I would argue strongly that Fairwood Road is just as steep, if in parts not even steeper potentially. Moving it from Mayles Road to Fairwood Road does not get rid of a gradient. There was also reference in the question about side roads on Mayles Road. There are equally side roads on Fairwood Road. We have looked at both options over the time, and this is the option we've considered the best and the most suitable. Neither are easy, neither routes. If we installed a cycle track there are no easy options here. Whatever we consider, we have to look at compromise throughout. And all of our schemes, as we've introduced in other parts of the city, it's all about compromise, trying to introduce schemes that satisfy the cycling groups, pedestrians, residents and other road users. And that's what we'll continue to do here. I will give a detailed, as I said, response to all of these points, but this is no easy task. As a key point as well is that we have not reached the detailed design stage of this scheme yet. It's the 30th of July today, and hopefully it will be agreed or accepted by Cabinet, and if it is, then we can get on with the serious work on detailed design. We don't do that until the grant is agreed or accepted by Council. So our work, serious work on the detail of this scheme starts after today if it is accepted by Cabinet. We will take on board the views of people. We will take on board the views of groups like Wheelwrights. We always have done, and we will continue to do that. But at the end of the day, we have to deliver a scheme that's not just for the residents directly of Swansea or Mayors Road, but the wider parts of Swansea as well. So we have to find something that meets all, as I said, all requirements. In answer to the final question about have we consulted the police, the short answer to that is no. Again, we haven't got a detailed scheme to put in front of the police. Once we do a detailed scheme and design and happy to go with it, we consult with many bodies, including the police. We will be happy to share our risk assessment with the police to see if they've got any concerns about it. And that's normal practice in schemes such as this. But at this stage, we haven't done that yet because we haven't got a detailed scheme to share. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Okay, that concludes the public question time. We'll move now on to agenda item 8, which is the active, which is the local authority governor appointment. So, Councillor Rayner, if you could dip out at this point, and we'll notify you then when to come back in.
Yeah, and me.
And Councillor Lloyd. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm off as well.
Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. Okay, the 3 councillors with interest then have left. So in Councillor Rayner's absence, I will move this report. I've nothing further to add to it. Welcome any comments anybody wishes to make. But if there are none, then we will go to the vote. So I can't see anybody indicating. So Mr. Evans.
Okay, please say if you're for, against or abstaining. Councillor Rob Stewart.
For.
Councillor Francis Davis.
For.
Councillor Elliot King.
For.
Councillor Andrea Lewis.
For.
Councillor Stevens.
For.
And Councillor Thomas.
For.
That's unanimous.
Okay, so the recommendation on page 8 is agreed. Thank you very much.
Can I just invite them back in?
Is there a councillor who?
Yeah, good. Well, shouldn't be. Hang on. Clive. Problems getting hold of that. I'm having difficulties getting hold of Councillor Rayner. It's
She's here now. Here I can see Jen.
Oh, there we are.
Jen's back.
Councillor Rayner
I'm back.
is in.
Thank you. I invited everyone else back. Brilliant.
Thank you all. Okay, we'll go now to Councillor Thomas for item 8, which is the Financial Procedure Rule 7 Active Travel Fund Grant Application 2021. Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. It's following on from the public question time. This is what the public questions were referring to, is this report that I bring to you today. First of all, can I say I'm very pleased to bring this report. We did initially bid for nearly £7 million in funding, but we managed to secure £5.117 million. To put things into perspective, this is the highest percentage and highest grant paid to any council in the whole of Wales. We, again, for the second year running, have secured over 17% of the total Welsh grant available for active travel. Now, despite in recent weeks gone by, we've come under a bit of criticism from different groups about our lack of desire in creating cycle infrastructure, and that we could have been more adventurous and we could have done more. I think the fact that we've secured this amount of money yet again stands testament not only to our ambitions as a council and as an administration, which we've laid out for many years, but also the hard work and dedication of our officers who've yet again been able to put bids forward that are seen by Welsh Government to comply with their expectations. In fact, it was quite interesting in one of the public questions that it said about they felt that we were, going to develop a scheme that was not within Welsh Government guidelines. Well, that won't happen because our funding, there's strict criteria over what the funding is for, and we have to comply with the guidelines laid down on cycle infrastructure, and that will be the same in this case. It's a fantastic award and reward for Swansea Council. It's something that we're all very excited about, and it's enabling us to expand our network out beyond the city and the city centre. As I said, we have huge ambitions to spread our cycling network to cover all corners of our city. If I can draw your attention to the successful bids, we have city centre links, which include the Swansea Central Bridge. That's the bridge that we all know about, is crossing over, to the arena. There's also funding to develop a scheme on Town Hill, traversing the ravine, which is going to be a very challenging scheme, but it'll link people up in Town Hill down to Gorse Avenue and Carmarthen Road to that side of the city centre. And on the other face of Town Hill, there's an extension of a cycle route down to Broadway to connect with Cocket Road and beyond to go out that way, because we've got plans to extend beyond Gorse Avenue and Cocket Road out towards Carmarthen Road that way. There's a small element around St Helens where it comes off the Oystermouth Road, goes over towards the Guildhall and the courts as well, as major employers. So we are trying to link up, being able for people to commute to work and cycle to work. And then we've got a section through Sketty Park, and as was alluded to earlier on in the public questions, the Mails Road link, Ulfa link. Again, that is the Sketty Park link, is to expand our network out from the city centre to Calais, Ulfa, and link up with Clyne Valley link. So there's going to be greater access from people from that part of Swansea to be moved to and from the city centre and to enjoy our routes for leisure purposes as well. As I said, it's very exciting. One of the challenges we have is, if this is accepted and agreed by Cabinet today, it's the 30th of July today already. All of these schemes have to have detailed designs drawn up. None of them are at the detailed stage yet, apart from, the bridge. None of them are at the detailed design stage yet, and we've got 8 months in which to design them, take account of people's opinions and listen to what people are going to say and other affected groups, try and take on board as much information and share and listen to people's views. But also we have to, design these schemes, engage contractors, and complete them by the 30th of March next year. There's been no extra time given on these schemes by Welsh Government, despite, there has been a backlog of work and a delay through COVID, but there's a tight timescale. So we've got 8 months in which to complete these schemes. So it's going to be a challenge for us yet again, and it's going to be, a strain on our resources, but we're committed to do it. And that's the key in why we have been successful, I believe, is that what we've proven over the years is when we bid for schemes, we have got a proven track record of completing those schemes in good time. And I think Welsh Government shows that it has got confidence in Swansea Council in being able to deliver on these schemes. So on that, I'll just, I'm happy to move the report, Chair, and happy to take any questions on it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thomas. I got a few hands up, so I'll go to Councillor Rayner first.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, can I congratulate the Cabinet member and his department on succeeding in getting such a large sum for Swansea. I think we are really lucky that we've got this funding, and it's a huge opportunity to develop our alternative travel arrangements. I think we have to remember, having just heard questions from the public, that the Active Travel Act is not just about cycling, it's also about walking routes, and for children, it's also about scooting as well. Small scooters are a really popular way of getting to school these days. So my comments are, one, not just because I'm an active cyclist myself and I'm one of the Cabinet members who does cycle into the Guildhall and County Hall, the Civic Centre, but also I have, as education member, huge concerns following large numbers of complaints from parents and residents about the numbers of cars that develop outside schools morning and evening because there doesn't appear to be an alternative way of getting to school. So anything which encourages alternative access to schools is very welcome. To get the maximum benefit out of this money, we're going to see a large increase in use. And I think building on what we've learned already from cycling routes around the bay and from Blackpill up through Gowerton and onwards to the Lacker Bridge, maybe it's time that we should consider a code of conduct or behaviour standards, which are already in place in a number of other areas of the UK and are very commonplace in European countries, to ensure the respect and safety of all users on these non-motorised tracks. The other issue, and that's a question I'd like to ask, is for these schemes to become alternatives to motorised transport to work and for recreation, there are the support facilities that need to go in. Specifically, we need some more safe, secure parking, preferably undercover for bicycles, but more importantly for schools and employers, places where you can store and leave wet clothing. This is not an opportunity just to have recreational use during sunny days. This is supposed to be a transformation of how we access work and education. So I'd really hope that as we go forward planning these, and I do appreciate you are up against a very tight timetable, whether we can share existing best practice from employers and schools to ensure that we can make users have a safe route and a route that can be used in all weathers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Councillor Thomas, do you want to respond to those, or do you want to take others first?
No, I'll do them one at a time, Chair. I'd prefer, please, if you could. To do justice to the questions, I'll forget some of them otherwise. Yeah, in regards to the code of conduct, yes, certainly that's something I'm happy to look to develop. I will speak to officers and see what other authorities are doing. I guess that this question has risen out of the recent, I am aware that there have been issues during the lockdown because of concerns of people who are using it with people who are misusing some of our cycle lanes, not just cyclists, but people not, when they walk in because they shared use paths, not keeping to the side to allow cyclists through. People have been off-road biking and things like that on some of our routes. The challenge we've had, and it's been a huge challenge over the lockdown period, is we've seen levels of usage on some of our paths go up by 500%. It has been an increase. I mean, along the promenade, daily usage normally at this time of year in May would be 550. It's gone up to 1,500, sorry, a day. Those are the sort of levels, and that's repeated through all of our major routes. There are the usage, which is great, is to be welcomed, but it has in some cases led to conflict between cyclists and pedestrians. There's no doubt about that. And that is a real difficult one to try and manage and police, because of, if you take Clyde Valley, it's not an area that we can put people out there policing and managing. And a lot of this, it reminds me quite a bit about the campaign we've had recently about litter and that, you know. We can do so much to try and help people and make provisions and provide bins and make sure they're cleaned and all that. But we rely heavily on, and the cases here are the same. We have to rely very heavily on common courtesy between users of our shared use paths, because we aren't, with hundreds of miles of paths, we can't manage them, we can't police them. But certainly to produce something like a code of practice would be something, a direction I'm more than happy to go down. In response to secure storage now, although we've got no plans at the moment for schools specifically, but it is definitely something I think our officers could work with education towards looking for grant funding for. We have recently received £600,000 of the special COVID-19 fund from Welsh Government, and a major part of that is going to go to implement and provide safe cycle storage in the city centre for exactly the points you raised, Councillor Rayner. It's for people who, because we want people to commute to work, it's not just have safe cycle routes. So then when they get there, what do they do with their bike, sort of thing? So we are looking at sites as we speak now. We've had special funding for it, and we are looking for sites where we can introduce, and we're working with BID to do that as well. So with local businesses and BID in the city centre, and hopefully, and I think BID are looking to that, they would want to contribute towards that as well. So there may be a joint venture sort of thing here, but we've already had the funding, and I think BID are interested as well as doing something along those lines. So that is in hand, and some of that work will, well, all of that work that we plan to do will be completed this financial year. So there is, you know, good work being done on that front.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thomas. We'll go to Councillor Francis Davis next.
Yeah, may I start, Leader, by congratulating Councillor Mark Thomas and his officers, I suppose particularly Ben George, for the way that they've attracted this funding. I was amazed the other day to see that there was going to be a protest in Swansea about lack of cycling in Swansea. When I was amazed that some years ago, I remember talking to somebody from Sustrans who said it's a pity all authorities couldn't be like Swansea, because we have more miles of cycle paths than most other cities in the United Kingdom. And it is because I think of those cycle paths and the interest on people keeping fit that we attract so many visitors. And with the tourism season now started, and tourism to us, we bring in almost 5 million visitors a year who spend, when they hear, some £461 million. That was the last figures that we had from 2018. So a lot of those people, and in fact, 86% of visitors come from outside of Wales. And we know that 40% of those come because they like walking and they like cycling. And those paths are very important. It's very important to the economic well-being of Swansea. And of course, the people who work in the tourism business. And in Swansea, there's 5,900 people who are employed sort of directly and indirectly in tourism. When you look at the paths along up through Clyde, you look at the paths around the bay, you look upon it on the river corridor, up the Swansea Valley, we are quite well blessed, and it's improving year on year. So I just like to congratulate. It is not just the commuters that we have and the residents of Swansea who use these paths, but just wishing to highlight the amount of tourism and the amount of people that are choosing Swansea and Gower as a destination because of the availability of cycle paths. And long may it carry on. So congratulations, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Francis Davis. Councillor King. Sorry, did you have your hand up? If not, no, sorry, Councillor Hopkins.
No, Leader, no.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Could I just join in congratulating Councillor Mark Thomas and particularly Ben George on their ambitions here. I think it's the vision that he got for this city in delivering active travel and getting people out to the car and trying to get them commuting onto the cycle track is amazing. And I would like to pay tribute, particularly to I think the challenge at delivering the project up in Town Hill on the ravine, yes, it's going to be challenging, but it's a very exciting project. If you see the plans there, I'm really excited to see what will be the legacy left of that. Because at the moment, it's a very difficult walkway there that's overgrown. And there's been a lot of exploratory work going on for the last 12 months. So looking forward to see that delivering. So no, mine is a very positive thing to say thank you very much. And hopefully we can continue delivering these things. But one thing I would say, consultation with local members, 8 months is a very tight period. And I think we need to be patient. I've been on the end of this, particularly on Gorse Avenue. It is a difficult time to deliver it, but once the project's up and running and managed properly, I'm sure we will see the benefits soon enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. Councillor Thomas, before you move the report, I'd just like to echo the thanks to both you and your team for securing this grant. As you say, we've had the largest share of money across Wales, which is very encouraging. And again, I think that's testament to the delivery that we are able to achieve every year in terms of the active travel schemes. What I would repeat, though, is the point that you made earlier, which is we always try to find the right balance between providing active travel, but also ensuring that there isn't a overwhelming detrimental loss to things like trees or established trees in communities, or parking for residents whose houses those routes may go past. That is a very difficult and challenging balancing act for anyone. So again, thank you for that. And again, I hope that we see a successful addition to the vast cycling routes we already have in Swansea. Councillor Thomas, I don't know whether you want to formally move the report now. I'll come back to you if you do.
Yes, I'm happy to formally move the report, Chair. If I can just go back to the beginning. And the recommendation is that the ATF schemes, together with their financial implications, are approved.
Okay, thank you, and I'm very happy to second that. If there aren't any further comments, then I'll ask Mr. Evans to go to the roll call.
Thank you all. Councillor Rob Stewart.
For.
Robert Francis Davies.
For.
David Hopkins.
For.
Elliot King.
For.
Andrea Lewis.
For.
Clive Lloyd.
For.
Jen Rayner.
For.
Andrew Stevens.
For.
Mark Thomas.
For.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Okay, thank you. That is carried. Thank you very much for that. We'll move now to agenda item 9.
Before we move on, could I give my apologies now? I now have to leave the meeting for another engagement.
That is fine, Councillor Lloyd, no problem.
Thank you.
We'll move now to agenda item 9, exclusion of the public. The legal officer has outlined the rationale for that. And again, unless there's any comments, we'll go to Mr. Evans for that item.
Yeah, again, are you all in favour? So Councillor Rob Stewart.
For.
Rob Francis Davies.
For.
David Hopkins.
For.
Elliot King.
For.
Andrea Lewis.
For.
Jen Rayner.
For.
And Andrew Stevens.
For.
Mark Thomas.
For.
It's unanimous,
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. That's carried, and therefore we will now go into private session. I'll pause a second.